first downs to get inside the 10.
Another jet sweep. It's Tyreek Hill, and he's in for the Kansas City touchdown.
Starting the Kelsey wide to the right on 2nd and 10.
Down the middle. Caught. Hill. Touchdown. Kansas City.
Tennessee defense drops back. Has long to try to make a diving tip. At Mahomes who tiptoes inside the 10. Still knocked out. Oh, what a run! Out of this world. Touchdown, Kansas City.
I mean, watch this. I'm like, okay, he's probably down. He's going to run out of it. Oh, gives him a little shake. Oh, he's definitely. No, I'm going to keep going. Come back in. 3 more guys.
Put ankle a little bit on that pass play down to the 3. Here's the handoff to Williams. Williams to the corner. He's got another postseason touchdown.
This time.
Slings it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Hey, what's good, Chiefs Kingdom? It's your boys Scott, Nick, Bo here with you on the Saturday edition of the Kingdom Cast. Bo put together a little intro video there. The last time the Chiefs played their opponent tomorrow, the Tennessee Titans, as I'm sure you all remembered there. So glad you could join us. If you found your way into the show today, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button for us. It really helps out. We appreciate that. Turn on your notifications too if you're forgetful like me and can't remember shit. So maybe it'll help you remember next time and let you know the show is going live. You can come in, send us some questions, comments. We're wanting to grow the show and get some more people involved and just have fun. Gentlemen, how you doing on a Saturday?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Nick?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I watching those highlights just made my heart smile. So, people don't know, but Scott and I were at that game. I remember very vividly, all those plays. I remember when, Sammy Watkins got that touchdown that everybody knew that was it. We FaceTimed Bo from the stadium. So we all got to kind of celebrate together. That was a great day, man. It was a really good day. So
I remember I couldn't hear anything you guys were saying. I could just see the mouth. We're going to the Super Bowl.
that was sick. It was a good day.
Yeah. Been to Arrowhead so many times and watched so many contests there, so many games. And that's obviously goes without saying, it's kind of the pinnacle of my Arrowhead experiences. It's funny when I was watching the video, you kind of forget about some of the stuff like the Damian Williams touchdown and the Tyreek Hill, the first one, the rushing touchdown around the end there. And you're like, oh shit, I remember. Yeah, that was a badass play. Of course, everybody remembers the Mahomes run and Sammy Watkins, basically the ceiling touchdown there on the bomb. There's, kind of towards it was the end of the game and put it a little bit out of reach for the Titans. The Titans, they kind of made it scary there and scored a touchdown. And it wasn't like they got it within one score or anything. But, yeah, it was pretty cool watching that video and just kind of going back and remembering in my head. And, like I said, some of the stuff that you just forget about. It's hard to remember every play from every game. And it's like, damn, I don't remember scoring that many points in that game, scoring that many touchdowns. But, yeah, that was the game that King Henry was supposed to run all over the Chiefs. And just like everybody's saying he's going to do tomorrow, I think Patrick Mahomes actually maybe outrushed Derrick Henry in that game or came close to it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I think they held him to like 60 or 70 yards. He did have a touchdown, but Chiefs were too much that day. Obviously playing in Nashville, the Titans. Tomorrow we'll break down that game and we'll do some picks here coming up. As far as news goes, some good news. Looks like Tyreek Hill. Looks like there's some of the big name players are healthy and going to play. Charvarius Ward looks like he's back. It looks like Chris Jones is back. Tyreek, like I just mentioned, is good to go. So they they had kind of a litany of injuries listed on the injury report midweek there. It made the heart skip a beat when I saw that earlier. So what do you guys think of all the guys coming back? What do you think makes the biggest impact or the biggest difference for the Chiefs?
When I text you guys earlier this week, the injury report, I was just like, how do you take a screenshot and scroll again? Oh, yeah, it's the full page. There were so many guys on that injury list. Like, yeah, like you said, it was kind of – it'd take a step back. It was like, oh, man, is this where we're at right now? But, yeah, luckily, as you can see on the ticker, out of those 16 guys, only 7 of them are kind of questionable. 3 are out for sure. The other 4 that were questionable, Andy Reid did say that they're all good to go this week, so that's good. So just a couple guys out, feeling good going into this week. What do you make of it, Nick?
Yeah, I think the biggest player coming back hopefully is going to be Chris Jones. Getting that back on the defensive line was going to make a big difference, especially with going up against an elite rusher, Derrick Henry, that can put people on their ass, right? I think having him back is definitely going to help. As far as players that are out, I don't know if you guys know or saw this, but Hitchens was the green dot guy for the defense. So, they can only have one mic or one receiver on the field. It's a one-way communication. He can't talk back, but he's getting the plays from the sidelines. And so they're going to do like a mix, I guess, between, a few different guys, potentially getting those defensive play calls in from the sidelines. So I think that, something to watch. If we see any confusion or anything, it could be related to that, I think they're going to switch it between, I think, Nick Bolton and I forget the other 2 guys, but I think they're going to have up to 3 guys getting those calls in. So that's something to watch. But definitely good to have Chris Jones back, right? I think that's a bigger up than any the other thing is a negative. And Hitchens, he's been a solid player, but he hasn't been, like a world beater. So hopefully, next man up at those positions, we can, just have a replacement average, and we can stop Derrick Henry, behind the line, get early contact, and get him down to the ground, because I think we saw it in that AFC Championship game that, he is a beatable guy, but you just can't let him get going. So
it's an interesting point if they let Nick Bolton take over communications, as he's a rookie, isn't he?
Yep. He is.
That'd be pretty interesting to see.
I saw that, and I don't know what the rules are. I don't know if it has to be a linebacker, but I was kind of surprised to see maybe they wouldn't just give Tyrann Mathieu that.
Yeah.
That, I don't know what you want to call it, job or privilege or whatever the hell however you want to describe it. But I maybe a linebacker needs it. You think the guy's defense, they huddles up, they can communicate. If one guy can tell everybody else on the defense, Tyrann Mathieu good. He's one of the leaders of the defense, and he's out there for a lot of the plays. So kind of surprising, I thought there, that they're going to go that route. I want to see what Chris Jones can do. I've been seeing people saying that he's going to be going back into the tackle position, but I haven't seen that from the team or an Adam Schefter or an Adam Teicher or one of these beat writer guys that's from one of the main teams for one of the main media outlets that covers the team. So I don't know how much to read into that. I would like to see that. I think he's been playing a little out of position. Maybe this wrist injury, whatever it is, he's been getting a lot of flack from people, fans, people on Twitter and on social media, which I understand really isn't all that out of the normal for Twitter and Facebook or whatever. But that'll be interesting to see how that works. I want to see him, if he does actually move back inside, maybe that wrist is better. He can get back into the dominant force that he's been. Frank Clark has played a couple games now. He's had some pressures, made his presence known in the last game against Washington. So see what I want to see what Chris Jones does. Charvarius Ward, I think, is a good player, but Chiefs have shown they have some depth with some other guys. Rashad Fenton and DeAndre Baker have come in and played pretty well, considering that they're not the starters. You can only have so many starters. If everybody could have 3 deep starters on their bench. They would. So that's just not realistic. The game coming up, Nick talked about Derrick Henry. I saw that he had rushed for 170-something yards and a couple of touchdowns in the game they lost to the Jets. To me, that's almost let him get his yards and try to maybe stop them in the red zone or before then hold them to a field goal, whatever, get them into 3rd and longs, get them, maybe they get a holding penalty or something. The quick strike offense and teams scoring a lot of points is what the Chiefs have been having trouble with this year. I feel that also that the Chiefs offense is going to destroy the Tennessee defense, particularly the secondary and the pass defense. I just see Patrick Mahomes and company lighting this team up for a bunch of points. Derrick Henry, you go get yours. You get your 170 yards and your 2 touchdowns, and you guys lose 38-21 or 38-17. Be interesting to see what goes on there.
It's almost a case of which defense is going to do worse. That might determine the winner of this game. I'm curious to see how Chris Jones does too, because as I was putting together those clips of that last game, I really noticed how much he impacted stopping Derrick Henry. Like, he was able to get some penetration past the line and just cause some disruption in the backfield, which we haven't been seeing a lot of this year from our defense at all. Until we bring 5. But then that was another thing I saw in those clips. I mean, I didn't put it in those clips, but as I was cutting together that clip, is that we were bringing 5 consistently. Not so consistently, it wasn't telegraphed, but I mean, like, we were getting pressure to Tannehill a lot. And I feel like that's going to be necessary this week as well.
Yeah, for sure. I saw too that Julio Jones might be back healthy enough to play. Maybe he's in a limited role, and he's obviously an older player. He's not as explosive as he was in his days with the Falcons there in Atlanta, and one of, if not, some people would say the best receiver in the league there for quite a stretch. AJ Brown is a guy who is very talented. He's been dealing with some injuries. If you play fantasy and you've had the unfortunate experience of drafting him early, like I did, that has not been good. He's not been he's not played up to the level he's capable of, or people expect him to, being a game wrecker there. Outside, if he's getting healthy, that would be the Chiefs' luck. He'd get healthy right, as we go out to play against him. So the defense is going to have their hands cut out. But this team lost to the Jets a couple weeks ago, and they were getting shellacked by the Seahawks and kind of came back and won a weird game in overtime there, where Derrick Henry just went into beast mode and destroyed them, which if you get into overtime and Derrick Henry goes beast mode, you're in trouble because you don't have any more time, obviously, to go out there and put some points on the board. So he gets a couple long runs or breaks one of those big long touchdown runs of his game's over, obviously, at that point. So it's kind of an odd opponent. They just beat the Bills, though. So you're thinking, well, who is this team? Which team's going to show up? Nick, how are you feeling about this game? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think you said on the Tuesday, you're more worried about it than you were a couple of weeks ago when you were looking at it on the schedule. However, they, like you said, they lost to the Jets, right? They're looking at a very high percentage play that didn't go the Bills' way, away from probably losing that game against the Bills. So credit to them for hanging in there with Buffalo, putting up that many points. I feel like we're a team that, our strengths match up well against their weaknesses. And really, they're so reliant on Derrick Henry that if you can control him, look, he's going to get his yards, right? But if you can control him, I just don't think that they have enough other stuff going on to beat us when we play. So it's going to take execution from the offense. Turnovers have got to stop. I think Andy Reid had talked about it after in the post-game presser or one of the press conferences this week. And he's like, look, we're done talking about it. Right. And so the Chiefs are to that point where I'm sure that he's getting to them in the locker rooms and during the practices and stuff, and really digging into them about that. So if the Chiefs can limit their turnovers and they can play their game on offense, I just don't think that the Titans can really keep up with them. So, of course, if Derrick Henry does run for 176, 200 yards, because he's on pace, I think, for another, 2,000-yard season, then that's going to limit our possessions on offense. So it really just comes down to, to be simplistic, our offense versus Derrick Henry. And if we can win that matchup against him, then I feel like we're going to win. I wouldn't see us probably winning by more than 7 points in this one. I think that it's going to be a closer game. We are on the road, but I like our chances. I like the talent on our team is just undeniable on offense. So.
Yeah, I agree with Nick, man. This is going to be one of those games that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago where, we're going to have to win just to, keep our playoff chances alive and keep a good playoff slot. It'll be a good test too. They're a good team, and we have to beat all the good teams to go to the big game. So I'm really liking this. I didn't like how every TV pundit out there is talking about how it's just us versus Derrick Henry. The last time we played them, they said the same thing.
And Nick,
they said the same thing, and we pretty much held them. That went a lot to our 2019 defense, which is a drastically different defense than what we have now. But we kind of found a little bit of magic in that Washington game. I know it's a completely different offense, but baby steps, confidence. We're just rolling. So I'm really liking what we're doing there. As far as Derrick Henry goes, I kind of feel like it's like a longevity thing. We were talking on Tuesday about regression towards the mean. He's on pace to have another 2,000-yard season. And could he do it? Probably. But, he's just getting older, and I'm not sure that you can keep that pace up with that guy. So I don't know that they're really going to throw him out here as hard as everybody's thinking. You know what I mean? You got to preserve him somewhat. And everybody's thinking that we have such a terrible run defense. I could see them trying to use him more as a decoy this week than anything. I don't see him getting, 50, 60 carries or whatever he had. But who knows? I still think that we have a great offense, though. I'd rather take our passing offense over their running offense any day of the week. I think ours is just more threatening.
Yeah, I think Vegas is favoring the Chiefs pretty heavily, wasn't it? 5.5 points, which I was
4. I didn't put that on there. I forgot that one.
Yeah. Maybe it tightened up a little bit, but
it definitely started at 5.5. So,
you figure that if they're giving 3 points to the home team, that they're thinking the Chiefs would win by over a touchdown to open up, which, I was surprised to see that, but maybe beating the Bills doesn't, count as much to the good as, losing to the Jets counts to the negative. So
Vegas, they don't overreact. They're not prisoners of the moment. They don't overreact to what's happened in the last week or two. They know the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. They see the same stats that we're seeing, where the Chiefs offense, despite having the most giveaways at 14 on the season, they have the number one offense in points per drive by a fairly good margin over the second team. This offense is as good, if not better, perhaps, than any Chiefs offense we've seen. It just doesn't seem like it because they've given the ball away so many times.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's an empty possession, obviously. That's just as bad as the defense stopping you, right? If they had just held on to the ball half of those, if you had 7 giveaways, you look at this team, they could be averaging 40 points a game.
Yeah,
which is
averaging 30 right now, right?
Which is absurd to think about, an NFL team averaging that many points per game. They can hit you so many ways. Vegas knows that. They don't. Did you all see the ridiculousness on ESPN? It was Tim Tebow and Stephen A. Smith. Someone posed the question, this season, would you rather have Patrick Mahomes or Derrick Henry? Did you see that bullshit conversation they were having? someone put it out there, and they were actually talking about it on national television. So that's what you get from the media. I think his name's Bart Scott. He put out his top 5 quarterbacks, didn't have Patrick Mahomes listed in there. Just silly stuff. It has a few games where he doesn't play up to his level, and he has some I'm just going to say not his fault turnovers where he's got 8 interceptions on the season. I'm going to pin 3, maybe 4 of those on him, but probably more likely 3.
Right. I agree.
So people forget about the last 3 years. They forget that the Chiefs have had the AFC Championship game at home 3 years in a row, represented the AFC in the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, still have the core players on defense and offense from those teams. We've talked about it before till we're blue in the face. Stop turning the ball over, and it's going to be extremely difficult to beat the Chiefs. So I see them going into Tennessee and lighting up the defense. I see Patrick Mahomes having another game. He had against Washington? He had 400 yards and a couple of scores where probably could have had some more touchdown passes where if they would have not ran the ball out and shown some mercy there on Washington on that last drive. And they had a couple of short plays there, running touchdowns where maybe this week they throw some of those pop passes or those shovels or get creative around the goal line to get him a couple more touchdown passes. So I see him easily having another game where you're talking in the 400 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and the season he threw 50 touchdowns. He only had 11 interceptions. Excuse me. So I mean, like, I know he's going to probably surpass 11, but I mean, I would take 50 touchdowns in 11 any season.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
Sure.
I feel like people are just being a little hypercritical, but I mean, he kind of set the bar that high himself. But I mean, like, to your point, he has a couple games where it's not perfect. And everybody's just riding him, thinking that he's not good anymore.
Well, Bo, you and I were talking before this went live. I mean, a lot of this is people are just trying to generate clicks. So do they really believe that? Or do they know that if I don't put Patrick Mahomes in my top 5 QBs, I'm going to have everybody talking about me, right? I mean, I think everybody knows. I just think that they sometimes do things for – to get attention. I mean, if you watched that game last week and your takeaway was that Patrick Mahomes is not, as good as he was in the past, then like, we're not living in the same world and you're not living in reality. So there's not a lot of point in talking to you about it. So I just take all that stuff with a grain of sand. I do see we have some, live viewers. I mean, comment if you guys think that, we're off, or what do you think is going to happen in the game? We can put your comments live on screen here. So let us know what you think. I mean, I'm excited to see the Chiefs come out and light it up tomorrow. I think that Scott's right. I mean, I would be surprised if they had less than 35 points. And, I know I'm a homer, but maybe I see them being able to put up over 40 again, right? I think they could have put up 40 on Washington. I called over 40 points. They had a couple turnovers, but even then they still, could have scored extra points there at the end that they chose to run the ball on 4th down just because they were trying to be respectful and not get anybody hurt. And that was reciprocated by Washington not taking their last time out, right, and letting the game go. So, we'll see. I just think that the Chiefs are going to win. I mean, I always feel that way, though.
So what's your final score?
41 to 33. How about that?
41-33.
Yep.
Bo, what you got? How you feeling? What do you think? Hey, what's going to happen? What's your score?
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to go similar. As hopeful as I am for that 50 burger, I just don't see it happening this week. Although I would like to. I do think 40 is possible. Again, like you said, if we can just not turn over the ball, that's going to be huge. I got us 40, them. They're gonna get points on us. 30, 34. What about you? What do you have, Scott?
It's good. I don't know that they're gonna have to air it out, and I just don't know if Ryan Tannehill and AJ Brown and Julio Jones are in sync enough, and Julio's at the point in his career, because if they just try to go out there and do, the Derrick Henry thing, it's going to be tough for them to score over 20-something unless he gets a couple of those long touchdown runs where it's a 65-yard run. The Chiefs, this is a big game. They saw the Bills lose this week. They saw the Chargers, lose last week. They made up a game they got to have some wind in their sails from that. Some of these teams ahead of them have lost. The Broncos now technically with this loss this week are in last place in the division. So I feel like you see Patrick Mahomes and the offense just really just ratchet up the and put on the fireworks show and ratchet up the pressure on Tennessee to come out and win a shootout. We're not going to let you come out here and just run the ball on us and beat us with Derrick Henry. We're going to air it out. We know your pass defense is terrible, and we've got Tyreek Hill. We've got Travis Kelce. I think Josh Gordon gets more involved. There were some people asking about him, and Bieniemy said, well, we need to make sure he's comfortable. And as the coaches, we need to make sure that we're getting him in the game. So I think that's going to be a point of emphasis. I think the Chiefs score 45, and I think it's like a 45-27, 45-28 kind of game where the Chiefs just really come out and announce to the AFC, hey, we're back. But the defense is still in the back of my mind, is still worrisome. So anything is possible. Until we see it for more than a half. They pitched a shutout against Washington in the second half, didn't let get up a single point to them, which I understand it's against Washington, but we played some, offenses, the Eagles, that we didn't shut them out for a half, and they're not some high flying circus offense. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. 45-27 Chiefs.
All right. Well, we got a couple teams on bye this week, so we don't have to worry about them. The Chargers, the Vikings, the Jags, Steelers, Cowboys, and Bills. So I mean that and the Donkeys losing to Cleveland with a Bakerless Cleveland. There's not much in the AFC West to really highlight. I guess with the Raiders are playing the Eagles. Kind of tell us our thoughts on that one, Scott.
That's interesting. The Eagles they've played some teams tough, so they've got some players. Jalen Hurts he's been okay. He hadn't been terrible. You can live with Jalen Hurts. Not saying they're going to be challenging for the division necessarily, but as you saw, they can score some points. They've got some playmakers. Devonta Smith, the quarterback there, it can hurt you in a few ways. They did get rid of the tight end, Zach Ertz. They traded him to Arizona. So I think personally that's going to help their offense. Dallas Goedert is younger. He's more explosive. Zach Ertz to me was a guy that was one of those guys that had been on and he had been dealing with injuries. So I hate to really bag on a guy that's been hurt and try to say that, oh, well, he's washed. But because you play with injuries and you play in that league, it's going to be tough. So, but to me, that almost may freeze them up to not feel like they got to get the ball to him. And he's been there forever. We know how that goes when you've had a guy on your team forever and he's maybe towards the end of his career and he's coming in blocking somebody else. So I think the Raiders are kind of in free fall mode. I know they beat the last week, but I mean, you saw what happened with the Browns. Like you just had up on the screen a second ago. You look at the inactives and the guys on IR that missed that game for the Browns, and the fact that they just went in there and kicked the Broncos' ass is so funny. Oh man, I love the Broncos sucking. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles this week. I think this is a classic Raider loss here on the road to a team that can score some points and try and hang with the Raiders. I'll take the Eagles. I'm gonna go 27-23 Eagles.
How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Nothing would make me happier than if the Raiders franchise never won another game for the rest of human existence. So I think that sometimes you see a team do a little surge after they, have some things happen, right? The Raiders lost their head coach. kind of surge there, but it wasn't against a great team. So I think the Eagles are maybe better than their record indicates. Maybe it's just because I saw them play against the Chiefs defense and they sliced them, but they obviously have some talent there. So yeah, I'll pick the Eagles. I'll pick the Eagles by 3, 27-24.
Yeah, it's one of those games I normally do pick the Raiders, and you guys don't like me for it, but I just don't see them doing too well. I mean, they beat the Broncos, but I mean that's not too impressive at this point, especially after we saw what Cleveland just did to them. Just kind of hurry this along. I got the Eagles by 3. Same score as Nick. The next game we have, I just put in here because I've never seen a game with this kind of spread in like the past couple of years anyway. The Texans at the Cardinals the Cardinals are slated to beat the Texans by at least 2 touchdowns or more. What do you guys think about that? Is Vegas wrong on this one? Scott, you don't think they overreact? You think they nailed this one?
You look at Arizona, they're the last undefeated team. They're scoring points in bushel baskets, man. They're explosive. Kyler Murray, I've had to eat some crow with some friends of mine and some people in fantasy leagues about him. I really didn't see it, but I thought he should have gone and played baseball, taken the guaranteed money. He was obviously one of his 2 sports stars. I thought he was one of those really, really good college quarterbacks that just has a hard time, struggles moving to the pro game, but he's been good, and that team has started hot and continued to stay hot, which has not been their MO the last couple of years. You take on the other hand, the Texans, they fought and clawed and scratched and hung in there for games, and they beat the Jags, but reality is kind of setting in for that team. They're terrible. They got the Deshaun Watson BS going on in the background. And every week I just cannot believe when I see inactive is Deshaun Watson, healthy scratch, bro. Like one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league, arguably, and you're just not playing him. What is going on in Houston? It's got to be awful to be a Texans fan. We suffered through some bad seasons there when we had Scott Pioli and we're getting the first pick in the draft, but it still wasn't as bad as this.
Yeah, not quite the same implosion they're experiencing. What do you think, Nick?
But yeah, I think I just real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. That's a huge number to cover, though. If I was laying money on it, I wouldn't bet that game with that much of a spread, but I would probably still bet the Cardinals to cover.
I can take the Cardinals not to cover. How about that? I mean, the Texans did lose to the Bills 40. Was it 40-0?
Yeah.
JJ Watt revenge game.
Spread was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Like that.
JJ Watt revenge game, right? Who else is on the Cardinals? Who was the receiver that they traded? D-Hop. So he gets a revenge game.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins,
Yeah. So both of those people wanted to come back and take some retribution on the organization that wasted a lot of their years, right? With that. So yeah, I'll take Arizona, but look, it gets harder and harder and harder to win game after game after game. So I think you'll start seeing the Cardinals maybe look a little more human here in the next few weeks. I could be wrong. So I'll take the Cardinals, but we'll say it's a 10-point game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Nick on this one. I don't think they're going to cover either, but I think they're also going to win. I'm just curious how Vegas gets 18 points. Is that like the average points they've scored on all their I don't know. So, but yeah.
Hey, Bo, if you can figure out how they calculate their lines, let me know, bro. We're going to go to Las Vegas. We're going to move there, actually.
I'm going to go down a wormhole next week, and all of a sudden we're going to be broadcasting from a studio.
Yeah.
Finance.
If you could figure out that, whatever it is that they use to figure these spreads out, we could be in business together.
Yeah. But yeah, I got a little bit less than 10 points. We've seen Houston put up some points, even though we've seen them put up no points as well. But I mean, this is a football team capable of getting it in the end zone and ruining that spread real quick. So I got Cardinals by 7, 28-21. Yeah. Next game, Nick and I were talking about a certain quarterback being in the news and all the controversy surrounding him saying he owns a certain city. So I wanted to talk about this one. Also another interesting spread number, more than a touchdown to beat the Washington football team. You think the Packers can do it, Nick?
Yeah, give me the Packers and the points. I didn't see anything that was really redeeming about Washington when we played them. If we don't make some boneheaded plays and we're knocking on the door of 50 in that game, Green Bay is, almost as good as the Chiefs talent-wise, but they're better execution-wise right now. So I would take Packers I would give them more than 8 points. So that's all I got to say about that. And I thought what Aaron Rodgers said was hilarious and true. And if you're a Chicago Bears fan and that upsets you, it should, but it's upsetting you because of how true it is. So just
What about you, Scott?
I don't know how Bears fans feel after taking that from Forrest Gump over here, and that's all he's got to say about that.
That's all I've got to say about that.
You look at his record, he does own the Bears. Okay, there's no lies detected. Isn't that how you always see the memes going around on social media? No lies detected. He does own the fans, and look, that's fun. Okay, it's not. People don't need to turn everything into some sort of oppressive PC whatever. The fans were giving it to him, and he was giving it to him back, and that's fun, and I like seeing that, man. To me, that's good shit. I like that when you go to the games and the players and the fans are kind of giving it to each other back and forth a little bit. That's good, I think. And probably most of the fans probably didn't really take offense to it. I don't think Washington. Their defense is definitely just fallen off a cliff from being one of the best units in the league last year. It's tough for a defense to stay good and stay at the top from year to year for a number of factors that we've talked about on previous episodes. The Green Bay, their defense looks to be better, looks to be improved. Their offense is a little – I don't really know what to think there as far as outside of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They got a nice running back, Aaron Jones, but their other receivers, Alan Lazard and MVS, and some of these guys are tight end. They were calling him, what was it, Baby Kittle or something last year, Tanyan, but he's been disappointing this year. So I would bet them to cover. But this probably isn't a game that I would bet money on. But I would take Green Bay plus points.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that Rodgers and Adams are the best quarterback receiver duo since Montana and Rice. They are insane. It's sad to say even better than Mahomes and Hill. I mean, they have their own little magic special side asterisk, but I mean, it's just undeniable how much chemistry those two have. And when they turn it on, they're almost unstoppable. Whether it's timing routes or scrambled plays, those guys know exactly where to be and when to be there and where to put the football. It's kind of unfortunate Washington football team doesn't get to play the Washington football team as a stepping stone game and improve some aspects of their game.
Get right.
Really help them out. It sucks that they have to play the Packers. And for that reason alone, I don't see them getting any better this week. And so, yeah, I take the Packers by 8 as well. I'll take the points.
Yeah. Chiefs Packers is pretty rough back-to-back for Washington's defense, who is struggling and trying to get some answers and get back to where they were last year.
Hits just keep on coming.
That's a pretty rough gauntlet there.
That's rough for any team. All right, next game here. We got Cincy at Baltimore with Baltimore favored to win. Scott, what are you thinking about this game?
That's a tricky game. The Bengals have shown some flashes, and Burrow has looked pretty decent. And did you guys see Phil Simms and his little comment he had on Inside the NFL or whatever that show is that he does? And he was like, "Do you know who we're looking at right now?" And Joe Burrow, we're looking at the modern day Joe Montana here. And I was like, "Oh my God, man! God, I know you got to get viewers, bro, but let's walk it back a little bit there, Phil." He's had some good games. He's played well. Still got some line issues. He struggles with protection. Their defense can play well. They gave the Packers all they wanted, but they also had to come from behind, I believe, to beat the Jags a couple weeks ago. So they're one of those teams I feel that is on their way to getting better, but just not all the way there yet. And the Ravens, I know they've got the best record in the AFC, but they are a CEH fumble and a blown delay a game call in Detroit, nonetheless, away from not looking as good as everybody thinks they are right now. So I'm going to go with the upset on this one. I think the Bengals offense and what they can do and score points matched up with their defense, if they can slow down the run a little bit. The Ravens are down to, I saw Latavius Murray is hurt now, so they're down to Devontae Freeman and Le'Veon Bell at running back. At some point, their running game is gonna suffer from injuries. So yeah, I'll take the Bengals, plus 6.5. I'd lay money on them in this game.
How about you, Nick?
Saw a stat that, this season Lamar Jackson is accounting for 82% of every offensive yard for Baltimore.
Wow.
I mean, that's an incredible stat, but it's also, alarming to put. I mean, talk about putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah.
So I echo what Scott says, that they're a few plays away from not being in the position they're in, but they are in the position they're in, so I want to give them credit there. If I had to pick who's going to win, I would pick Baltimore, but I think that covering here is going to be tough at, basically what they're calling a touchdown. So I'll give me Baltimore by 3, but I really want the Bengals to win, so I would be pretty happy if the Ravens lost.
Right. The Bengals are also one of those teams. It just depends on which team comes to play. I mean, they gave the Packers a run for their money. Granted, the Packers missed 5 or 6 field goals that game and couldn't put it between the uprights and make that game put it away for them. But I mean, the Bengals still hung in there. They like Scott was saying, they have a decent quarterback in Joe Burrow. Their offense is chugging along. I just don't see him stopping Baltimore's offense. Lamar Jackson is too explosive. I'm with you though. I'm wondering how long that's going to last though. Like before we see him kind of go the way maybe of RG3 or something, I mean, like we've seen how long running quarterbacks last in this league, which isn't too long. So, but even with that said though, I agree with Nick. I got Baltimore, but not covering by a touchdown, but just a field goal.
You saw the RG3 thing, obviously, but also there's been other guys that the 49ers, they played Trey Lance one game and ran him a bunch of plays, and he got hurt in the first game that he started. Every game and every rush for Lamar Jackson is just one step closer to that injury, because you saw with the running backs, right? Look how decimated the running backs are by injury. How the hell is their quarterback not gotten hurt? I'm not saying I want him to get hurt. Let's not twist this around and say that, this guy over here in this podcast is wanting Lamar Jackson to get hurt. My point is, how did all these running backs go down with injuries, and that dude doesn't? Maybe he's good at, maybe he's really good at dodging and not taking that big blow. There's something to it. He's got the mojo, and he's avoided it, but you just got to think eventually it's going to catch up to him.
Yeah. Their offense is kind of predicated on a lot of like who's got the football. So I don't know. I keep thinking that eventually it's going to be like the Tim Tebow offense, where people are going to figure it out because it seems pretty simplistic. It's like either this guy's going to go this way or Lamar Jackson's going to go this way. I mean, that's like 80% of their plays, but they do execute it incredibly well. They fool the cameraman sometimes with who's got the football, but I don't know, just for long-term sustained success, I think that relying that heavily on one player, look, we saw it with Jamal Charles and the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Jamal, like, I remember that Jamal Charles was accounting for a crazy amount of our offense, and then like he has a knee injury, and then it's like, well, we suck now, you know. So it's just it's risky, and you're just always one play away. So yeah, I mean, the Bengals, like, they're kind of an enigma, right? What, like, are they good? Are they not good? So that's I feel comfortable with picking the Ravens here.
All right.
We got a comment there. I don't know how to throw up, but if you want to put it up there, from Doug, it says Freddie and I are watching. Freddie says, "Yes, you all are full of shit." So, hey, there you go.
You would know. He would know.
Freddie just calls it like he sees it, I guess.
Freddie calls it like he sees it. So I don't know who else is watching, but shoot us a comment. Don't be nervous. Don't be scared. We don't bite. We're relatively sane, harmless people here. So,
right.
Yeah, I like the Bengals in that game, actually. I don't know why I do.
You could be right.
All right, this is the last game I have besides our Chiefs game if we want to get more into that one. But the Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Bucks slated to win by 11.5 points. Nick, you think they can do it?
Yeah, it's a big spread, but Tampa Bay's been hot, right? Gronk is still out. I think they had another injury. They have a pretty decimated secondary, but Chicago's offense isn't all that great. Yeah, I guess I would take Tampa to cover here. I mean, I think that they're rolling, they're hot right now. So, you know, I don't want to say that because I'm not a Tom Brady fan, not a Bucks fan, but you know, you just got to give credit to where credit's due. They have been kicking people's asses and they've been playing well, really outside of that Rams game. And then, you know, I know that the Patriots game was a closer game that, you know, maybe they should have lost. You know, but you just got to wonder how much of that's Belichick playing with, you know, coaching Tom Brady for all those years. Like he knows every in and out of that dude, as far as what he does and every play and every situation, knows how to game plan against him. So I think if you kind of take those two aberrations out, I think Tampa Bay is going to kick their ass. What do you think, Scott?
Bears beat Tampa Bay last year, right?
That they did. Is it fourth down? That was that game, right?
Yeah, that was the game where Tom Brady thought he counted the downs wrong. He thought it was fourth down and it was fifth down. So he I'm not saying that because I think the Bears are going to win this game, but I'm just waiting for Justin Fields and for that to click for them because I still think that kid's going to be a good player. I don't know. It's weird. The Bears, Matt Nagy, right? He was with the Chiefs and was the offensive coordinator here for Andy Reid when we were one of the better offenses, and he was here pre-Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But I don't know what to think of the Bears. They beat the Raiders, which I'm not going to sit there and say that means
Raiders,
got anything's fixed. And I picked Tampa Bay to win. I mean, I wouldn't put money on this game because the Bears defense. Maybe they've got something about the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are without Antonio Brown. They're without Gronk, I believe, for this game. So that hurts them on offense. You just keep waiting for Tom Brady to fall off because when quarterbacks fall off, it happens it seems like overnight in the NFL. Happened with Drew Brees, happened with Peyton Manning, happened with a lot of these guys. It just seems like all of a sudden they're not as good anymore. So it doesn't seem like a gradual thing. Keep waiting to see that maybe. Maybe his diet's that good. Maybe the TB12 lifestyle, the supplements, or I don't know what, that dude should open his own GNC store when he retires if that's really what it is, if it's really that good. So I'd pick Tampa Bay to win, but I don't think I'd pick them to cover or bet on that. Feel comfortable enough to anyway.
Yeah, right. Watching what Chicago did to the Raiders, I know it's just the Raiders, but I mean, they kind of embarrassed the Raiders a little bit. Anytime a team embarrasses another football team, it's saying something. The Bears, if Khalil Mack's out there and he's, a force and he's getting pressure to Tom Brady, I could see the Bucs really struggling to cover a touchdown and a field goal. But it's also Tom Brady, and he still has Mike Evans and Scotty Miller, and I can't remember who their backup tight end is. Whatever his name is. He still has weapons. He's still Tom Brady. I still see him doing Tom Brady things. So I have the Bucs, but at like 4.5, 5 points.
Yeah.
So
Vegas knows though, man. I don't know how they know, but they know.
All those refs they got in their pocket, allegedly.
That's definitely part of it. So.
Allegedly. I say that so I can't get sued.
Right.
Unfortunately, I got to wrap this up,
Titans.
fellas. Sorry. I know we already kind of talked about the Chiefs and Titans, but I got to get out of here. You guys are more than welcome to keep talking, I guess. But
No, I mean, I think we got about it. We got some viewers there if they want to shoot in a score prediction real quick. But yeah, I think we're gonna let Bo get on out of here. I got some stuff, I'm gonna get to too here. We're trying to keep these a little bit shorter on the weekends anyway. But yeah, if you like the show, if you enjoy watching us and the breakdowns and the picks or whatever, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Shoot us some comments. Tell your friends. Tell your family. We're not going to beg you to, but please tell other people to watch our show. You can find us on all of our other social media platforms as well at The Kingdom Cast on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I think someone said they got a Twitch going on there. I think Nick said he set up a Twitch. So you can find us anywhere you can find online content. We'd appreciate it. Big game tomorrow. Looking forward to the game against the Tennessee Titans. And I put on Twitter, hopefully they'll be writing a country song about crying in their beers after the ass whipping the Chiefs are going to lay on the Titans tomorrow. So we'll be back, obviously, Tuesday night to break down what the action from tomorrow. And that's 6 o'clock Kingdom time. Tell your friends, come on and join us, shoot some comments, have fun. And until then, let's go Chiefs.
Let's go, Chiefs.